What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, I'm going to try to answer the question that gets asked to me quite frequently, and that is, how do I acquire so many shards? And also, how do I save them? When do I use them? So in this video, I'm going to show you guys where is the best spots to get shards, how many shards you're expected to get, how you should be spending your shards if you want to, have a sustainable way of playing this game. So I'm going to show you guys all that in this video. So let's jump right into it. So first things first, anything about shards, you have to talk about the best place for shard farming, and that's going to be the clan boss, specifically the Ultra Nightmare clan boss. So you can see here from the Transcendent chest, which is the top chest, you get access to the yellow sacred shard here, void shard, and the ancient shard, as well as books as well. Let's go over what the breakdown is for these clan boss chests. In this video, I'm going to be talking about mainly the Ultra Nightmare, Nightmare, and Brutal chest. There is some rewards that come out of the hard chest, but we're going to leave that out, and I'm just going to say the average player, average end game player has access to all these. But also, I will break down each difficulty as well, so you guys can obviously scale back some of the numbers for your own progress level. All right, guys, so we're going to be using a spreadsheet for this. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible for everyone to understand. But basically, I'm going to do this in a monthly basis, and we're going to assume that you can do clan boss every day. So you're getting 2 chests per day. That's if your clan can actually kill the clan boss. So you're going to get 60 Ultra Nightmare chests, 60 Nightmare chests, and then 60 Brutal chests. Of course, like I said, you guys scale it down based on your own progress. In the Ultra Nightmare chest, you have 82% chance of getting a shard. So basically 4 out of 5 chests that you're going to get, you're going to be guaranteeing yourself a shard, whatever that may be. You also have a 26% chance of getting a book. You can also get both of these together. So that's why the percentages don't obviously add up there. And then for Nightmare, it's 30% chance to get a shard, 15% chance to get a book. Brutal, 1 in 10, you're going to get a shard, and then 1.8% you're going to get a book. So what does that all mean? That means from the Ultra Nightmare chest, 82% of the time you're going to get a shard, and out of those 82% chances, you have half the time to get an ancient, 18% of the time to get a void, 13% chance to get a sacred shard. And then here are the breakdowns for the Nightmare and Brutal difficulties. You can see like the percentages drop off quite a bit. So for Nightmare, only 1 in only 1 in 3 chests, roughly, you're going to get a shard. And then most of the time, you're probably going to get an ancient shard. So what does that translate into in terms of like real life shards for you guys to understand? So here are the totals. I labeled them in the colors here. So if you're attacking Ultra Nightmare clan boss on the daily, getting 2 chests every day for a month, you're looking at about 30 ancient shards per month. You're looking at about 11 void shards. And then you're looking at about 8 sacred shards. So you're actually getting all of this on average from the Ultra Nightmare clan boss, hitting 2 of those chests per day. Also, I added the book values here. You're getting about 9.5 epic books and about 6 legendary books on top of that. So you get all of this on average from Ultra Nightmare clan boss. If you also do the Nightmare clan boss as well, you're adding another 13 ancients, another 2 void shards, and another 3.5 sacred shards. And then the book values are here as well. If you also do the Brutal chest, getting 2 chests per day, you're adding 5.5 ancients and 1 void shard per month, giving you a grand total of 48 ancients, about 14 void shards, and about 12 sacred shards per month. And book values are here, 16 epic books and 11 legendary books. This is what you get per month from hitting the clan boss. This is a pretty significant amount of stuff. Obviously, hitting Ultra Nightmare clan boss means you're pretty advanced in the game. If, for example, you're more mid-game and you're just hitting maybe like Brutal Nightmare, you can basically take the totals of this and then just omit the Ultra Nightmare clan boss shard totals. But if you're hitting Nightmare and Brutal, you're looking at about 20 ancients, about 3 void shards, and about 3.5 sacred shards per month. So what does this all mean? This means that from the clan boss alone, you're getting a decent amount of shards and books from this piece of content from Plarium. So it's very important to focus on your clan boss so that you can have access to these shards and books so that you can actually play the game and not spend money, of course, or not spend as much money. But anyways, so that is the shard totals. Let's take a look at where we can get shards from other areas of the game and how it stacks up to the clan boss. All right, guys. So further on, I did break this down even further. I went pretty extensive on every area in the game and whether you can get shards or not. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything or if my values don't seem reasonable. But basically, like, some of these areas are more advanced and you can basically omit those from your monthly totals, for example. But this is basically what I have access to. Obviously, you know, not everyone's going to have access to the same amount of shards. So these might be only somewhat applicable, but still relevant for you guys. So in total, we're getting a total of 28 ancient shards from various areas in the game on a monthly basis. You get 4 from the tag team shop. You get 1 per week. So for example, you get 1 per week from the tag team shop. If you go here, you go to the bazaar, and then boom, you have one of these, 1 every week, right? After that, we head to the market. In the market, there's actually 5 ancient shards that pop up in the market every month. It's on a rotating basis, so every month you always have 5. You just have to look out for it, and you have to purchase it with silver, but you have 5 ancient shards there as well. After that, we have 4, 1 per week from the shop. And from the shop, I mean, it's from just like the normal pay shop. So you click the shop here, bottom left, and it's going to be right here. So you get 1 every week. After that, you do have access to 4 ancient shards from doing the dailies. So the dailies, when I refer to the dailies, it's going to be your quests. For example, you have this ancient shard here that you can basically get once every. I put it once a week, but you probably get it once a little bit more often than that. You get it once every 5 days or so. But I put it once a week just for simplicity's sake, just in case you miss one. For example, these are more for like averages instead of like theoretical maximums. Then we have 2 ancient shards from the arena. So basically when you do weekly arena, classic arena, you get a chest, right? So you get a chest here. So for example, classic arena, at the end of the week, if you completed a minimum of battles, you do get a chest here. I'll open one up for you guys just to have a look. And boom, I got an ancient shard. Okay, so sometimes you can get a void shard out of it. Sometimes you don't get any shards. So I put the total at 2 ancient shards, 2 ancient shards and 1 void shard per month. I would say that's probably like a little bit above average. You're probably looking at about maybe 2 ancient shards. Sometimes you might get lucky and get a void shard from it. But that's one area to get additional shards. After that, we have hard and normal Doom Tower. In hard and normal Doom Tower, if you can complete them, you get a total of 6 void shards and 2 sacred shards from the Doom Tower content. It's very, very nice. And even if you can only do the normal stuff, you're still looking at a couple void shards, which is still worth your trouble. The next category I have is the farming, just general energy spending in dungeons. If you guys weren't aware, there's actually a 0.5% chance of getting a ancient shard from basically any dungeon. So if you look down here, item drops, and then you have the ancient shard. There's actually a 0.5% chance of dropping. So for my purposes, I put it as 1 in every 100 run roughly. So about 10,000 energy per month spending. That's kind of like lowish, to be honest, but I'm basing it on more of like an average play style. So at least 5, I would say you probably get just from farming dungeons. And then from the login, daily login reward program, after 270 days, you're going to get 1 ancient shard, 1 void shard, and then 1 primal shard every month. This is, you know, kind of like an average. I can't really say, you know, a better average than using this system, because like some of these earlier months, you get some crazy rewards. Like this one has 4 ancient shards and a void shard and 2 sacred shards. And then this month has, you know, 2 ancient shards and 1 void shard. So it's like, yeah. So I just used the 271 days, which is, you know, 1, 1, and 1. So that's how I got that number. So this is kind of like the access for most players, I would say. Hard and normal Doom Tower people might not be able to do. Also in tag team arena, you are looking at 2 void shards and a sacred shard as well. So from the bazaar, you have the ancient shard, and then you also have the void shard and the sacred shard. I'm going to say most people don't have access to the sacred shard, but you at least could get access to the void shard once every 2 weeks. So that's going to give you an extra 2 void shards per month, which is pretty nice. And then there's going to be some you know, variables here. So for me, CVC is actually a big source of shards. You can kind of see here, if we win 1 tier 6 personal reward CVC, it's actually an additional 7 void shards and 1 ancient shard. if we lose, if we win or lose just a regular tier 6 CVC, we still get 6 void shards and 2 ancient shards. So it's actually a pretty significant amount of shard resources here. This is factoring basically 2 tier 6 CVCs per month and factoring a personal reward win. We also have a primal shards coming from Live Arena, which not everyone can get. You can get a maximum of 4 primal shards per month if you're like in gold Live Arena. I'm going to say most people, if you're grinding it regularly, you can pick up 3. And then you can pick up maybe 2 primal shards worth of quartz from winning Hydra clashes every month. So 4 Hydra clashes a month. Let's say you win 50% of them. You probably have access to maybe like 2 primal shards. So these are where I got the numbers from. So in total, just from playing the game and collecting all the shards available to you, you're looking at an additional 28 ancients, 25 voids, 6 primals, and 4 sacreds. So these are all accessible for my account. Obviously, if you're not as advanced in terms of progress, you're going to lose some of these resources. Like for example, if you can't do hard doom tower, you're going to lose 2 of these sacred shards. You're going to lose a couple of void shards, but you're still going to get some of these rewards just by basically playing the game in different areas. Keep in mind that this total doesn't actually add any shards you earn from doing tournaments or events. So you can kind of see like just by participating in just basic like events, and like for example, this Titan event, you're gonna pick up a primal shard. For example, I picked up a void shard, ancient shard here. This spreadsheet doesn't factor any of those. So we probably could increase these by maybe like 50%. I don't think they're giving away sacreds that easily, but you could probably increase, ancients by additional like 15 void shards. Maybe you pick up like 5, 6, 10 per month, maybe. Primals, maybe you pick up like 1, and then sacreds, you're probably not going to pick up any, but you're definitely going to increase your total just by being active in the game and just winning some rewards from those events and tournaments. But excluding that variable from the totals that we have here, so from Clan Boss and from all the areas in the game that have shards available to you, in a monthly basis, I'm getting 76 ancient shards, 39 void shards, 6 primal shards, and almost 16 sacred shards per month. This is pretty much like end game free-to-play player, right? Like I don't spend any money in the game. This is how much allotted resources in terms of shards are available to myself on a monthly basis. So as you can clearly see, I can obviously save a lot of these resources every month. I don't spend these resources every month. Definitely don't spend all of them. Keep in mind that 2x events, they happen every 6 weeks, usually on rotation. So this is only 4 weeks worth of stuff in terms of shards. And I don't really participate in all 2x events at all. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, so on to our next metric here. We have 1 fusion per month. So if you want to do every single fusion, so basically for me, I do every single fusion, even if it's just really bad. I just do it just for faction guardians and collect your Pokemons or whatever. And you're basically allotting like 5 sacreds. It could be more, could be less, depending. Sometimes you can go as high as like 10 sacreds, depending if you want like an epic, but that's going to take some stress off of other areas, other resources. And then you have usually a champion chase component, which usually costs you about 50 ancients, fragments, or mysteries. Mysteries are really, really big for any kind of free-to-play resource management because they're basically worth shards, allowing you to keep your shards for future events. It's also a really good habit to view shards more like currency instead of viewing them like lottery tickets. So when you get a sacred shard, it's like, yes, instead of having, hey, I have a lottery ticket, I can get a legendary, view it as, hey, I have, X currency towards a fusion or X currency towards an event that has a nice reward that I want at the end of it, like a soul, for example, or a champion. That's probably the most healthy way to look at it. Otherwise, you're just going to be thinking it's a lottery ticket, and then you're probably going to be able to spend it a little bit more easily. So lastly, I broke down some spending habits for players that it might be helpful for you guys just to let you guys focus in and, redial yourself on what you guys should probably be focusing on with your shards. So I broke down early game, mid game, and late game. So in the early game, you're probably looking at hard and brutal clan boss. So you're not really picking up too much shard resources like from the clan boss. You're only picking up a handful of ancients, 1 void shard a month. And then obviously if you can pick up some extra ones from events, but you're really not picking up a lot of resources. In this stage of the game, you're probably just saving for a 2x boost. 2x boosts are really good for basically increasing your chances at getting epics, which are really good for early game accounts where you lack books and stuff like that. And epics are generally just really good and easier to get. So you can save up for 2x boost. You can also save up for fusions, but at this point, it's probably really low priority. And it really depends on how well your account is set up to be progressing, because shards are one thing for fusions, but you also need to have a semi-progressed account. Otherwise, you'll be spending tons and tons of gems and energy, not to mention time to try to finish some of these events. After the early game, you're heading to the mid game, and then you're hitting Brutal or Nightmare Clan Boss. Once you're into Brutal or Nightmare Clan Boss, you're collecting about 20 Ancients per month, about 3 or 4 Void Shards, and a couple Sacreds. The Sacreds are really big, because now in the mid game, you can actually have a pretty good shot at completing fusions relatively consistently. Again, you're still saving for 2x boost on your shard chances, just to increase your chances of getting epics, for example, just to help fill your roster. But now you can consistently save up for fusions. Although you probably won't have much resources remaining, even if you are a very active player hitting just Brutal or Nightmare. Once you enter the late game, you basically enter like a brand new game, because now you have access to the Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss chest, which gives you way more resources, and now you actually have more than enough resources to complete 1 fusion per month. Keep in mind that fusions, like I said, roughly 5 Sacred Shards and 50 Ancient Shards. So you're roughly saving, just from Clan Boss alone, if you're able to hit the top 3 chests, you're saving roughly 5 or 6 Sacred Shards and a bunch of Void Shards every month, and you're still completing a fusion. So what are you going to do with those extra resources? Well, you can save for the 2x boost, you can save for fusions, you can save for special events like Titan events, Hero's Path, Deck of Fate events. You can also keep track of your Mercy and try to target progressive events. And then lastly, you can save for guarantees. So at this point, you definitely have lots of resources. So I don't think anyone that is hitting Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss should be struggling trying to do fusions in terms of having enough shards. Ultimately, it just comes down to what is your priority, what kind of events you want to prioritize. Obviously, if you're not paying for shards, you're not going to be able to do every single event. So you do have to be a little bit choosy in terms of what events you want to participate in. So for me, myself, saving up for 2x boost is not very important, because getting any random legendary is not very important to me. It's not going to progress my account most likely. So I often skip 2x boost events unless it's paired with a champion chase or it's paired with the fusion that I'm doing. As mentioned, I do every fusion, but based on what our average expected outcome for shard spending is on fusions per month, it's actually not that much. And if you look at the total, monthly total based on what I can achieve, not including events, that acquiring shards through events, I'm going to be left with a pretty good surplus of shards every month, even if I do every single fusion. So that's kind of how you guys see that I kind of like stack up my shards over time, because I don't, the income of shards definitely exceed the outcome or spending of shards. After that, we do have the Titan Path or deck type events. Now, these ones are basically just additional fusion events, just like, in terms of the Titan, it's an additional fusion event. The Path and the deck are basically one-time intensive spends, but in my opinion, they basically replace like a 2x event. So for example, if you don't pull during a 2x event, let's say the 2x is not important to you, now you have enough resources to commit to like a Hero's Path or a Deck of Fate. But a Titan event is effectively another fusion event. In a way, it's a little bit lighter than a fusion, but it's basically the same. So depending on how much time in between the fusion and a Titan event, then that's kind of like all the time you have to recover your shards. But basically, it's two fusion events if you have them back to back. So I can see why that is a little bit extraneous, of course. But you know what? If you can save up and skip a couple 2x events, you basically have enough to do, for example, a random Hero's Path here, random Deck of Fate here. And if you're already saving up for fusions, you probably have enough to do a fusion and a Titan event back to back, assuming that you collect, anywhere from 15 Sacred Shards per month, and you only spend 5 plus Mystery Shards per month on one fusion. Also, you can save up for your mercy. This is probably a good time to track your mercy because you're pulling a lot of shards, you're getting more champions. So that gives you a better chance of actually reaching mercy. For example, ancient shards is 200 ancient shards, void shards is 200 void shards. And yeah, it's a good opportunity for you to target specific champions. Like for example, if you really want like Taras, you can wait for a 15x progressive event on Taras and when you're close to mercy, and then you can pull some of your void shards for Taras during that event. And then lastly, saving for guarantees. So once you have enough surplus, saving up for guarantees makes a lot of sense. Having the buffer of a guarantee champion amount, for example, like 150 ancient shards, 100 void shards, 20 sacred shards. Those are roughly the numbers for guarantees. Obviously, they fluctuate a little bit and they've been increasing over time, but we've also haven't been getting them very often as well. But that's also something that you can actually spend or target your shards on as a late game player when you have access to all these extra resources. Overall, all these progress levels, you just require self-control, some discipline, and then obviously you have to have the ability to choose, right? You can't participate in everything. That's the thing. You can't participate in everything. You just don't have the shards. But if you're an end game player and you're able to tackle the Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare clan boss, acquiring those resources, you do have enough resources to do a couple of these different priorities and events. So I definitely strongly recommend you guys hit up Ultra Nightmare if possible. That's going to give you a big chunk of resources. Even if you have to 4-key it, it's going to give you a good chunk of resources. Well above what you can get from Nightmare, for example. And yeah, obviously participating and just being active in the game, you're going to pick up tons and tons of other shards as well. Obviously being in a good clan gives you access to lots of different shards as well. But yeah, hopefully I showed you guys where all these shards come from, how I'm able to accumulate and hold on to them, what I personally prioritize myself, and hopefully this gives you an idea of what you guys maybe should prioritize yourself as well. Maybe it gives you guys an idea of how many shards you guys actually get and how many shards you guys actually spend, or what events you guys actually spend it on. So anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. It's a bit of a spreadsheet video, but it does explain a lot when you look at the numbers this way. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything or if I made a mistake anywhere. I do appreciate your time, and thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.